Welcome back to our podcast, Very Factual. We're your hosts, Kayla.
And Izabella, and we have a crazy packed episode for you guys today. We have Champions League, which we actually remember this time, and Premier League. And we'll actually start it off in the Premier League when Spurs took on Wolves on Saturday.
Yes, so Spurs traveled to Wolverhampton to take on the Wolves, and what everyone thought was an easy win for the Spurs ended up being a 2-1 loss. An early head start to Spurs, scoring in the third minute and keeping their 1-0 lead until added time when Wolves scored both their goals, shocking absolutely everyone. When Wolves scored in the 90th minute to tie up the game, the action really lifted. I mean, the tackles and offensive plays both teams were doing really increased the tension between them. There was one yellow card given to Dawson on Wolves that really honestly stuck to me because when I was rewatching the play, we see Dawson grab Son's shoulders and pull him down, clearly purposely stepping on Son to injure him, which in my opinion definitely should have been a red card, but whatever. Overall, I'm pretty disappointed in Spurs, and I think Chelsea cursed them ever since that game.
So you said that Chelsea cursed them. Obviously it was
Mhm.
really disappointing to lose like this, especially in added time. And I was very surprised about that early goal, to be honest. Like 3 minutes in, that is like very early. And you said that Chelsea cursed them, but I think for this game, and this would, I guess Chelsea kind of cursed them in this way. They had a bunch of unavailable players, and I kind of knew that they were going to struggle. Like Romero got a red card against Chelsea. He's been one of their top players. Mickey Van de Ven, he got injured at Chelsea. He's also probably their best defender this season. Madison got injured and he's going to be out for the rest of the year.
Mhm.
Udogi, he got suspended because of 2 yellow cards in the Chelsea game. So I guess you could say Chelsea maybe cursed them in that way.
No, I think that they definitely did. I'm a Chelsea hater over here. I don't like them
Yes.
at all. They're clearly cursing my second favorite team here. I mean, they had the win the entire game
Mm-hmm.
until added time. And I was rewatching like the last 15 minutes of the game with my dad, and like when I saw Wolves score, the whole stadium went crazy. And
Yeah.
then when I saw them score again, both teams were really pushing. And I still can't get over the fact that Dawson, when he grabbed Son's shoulders, he literally stepped on him, kneed him, and Son put his hands on his shoulders too, but he didn't do it first. It was Dawson who dragged him down and then stepped on Son. And of course, I was gonna like try to drag him down too, you know.
Yeah.
But like Son was literally rolling on the ground because he got stepped on. Like should have been a red card.
Another bad VAR decision that they
Of
have to get
course.
straight.
No, it wasn't even a VAR decision because there was like 2 minutes left and they were
Oh,
like, okay,
so
just
they were
play.
just like, who cares?
Yeah,
Like, just play.
which gave Wolves the goal. Stupid.
And I've been quite vocal about this, like, over the other episodes, and I said that it'll eventually catch up to Spurs. Like, they won't be as good as they were in the beginning of the season because you see when they lose their best players, their replacements aren't good enough. They'll probably bounce back, though. Romero will come back, Van de Ven will come back, Madison will eventually come back because it's a really long season. But I think Wolves deserved the win, and I think Spurs lost it, especially towards the end. They really took the pedal off the gas and let Wolves get back into it. They let Wolves have a bunch of space, especially during the second goal. And Wolves took their chances towards the end. But I will say, I thought Spurs would do worse, especially with like missing a bunch of their players. So I do give them a lot of credit for keeping it like 1-0 almost the entire game. I do think they'll bounce back, but I don't think they'll be challenging for the title. I see them like maybe fourth.
Yeah, I definitely see them in the top four at the end of the season. But right now, like, I don't see it being like it's a downhill. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
more of just like a little rough spot, and then they're gonna go back up to how they were doing in the beginning of the season. And like you said, I mean, Spurs are missing some of their players, and I mean, I'm just a little disappointed because they kept the 1-0 win literally the entire game until the 90th minute and some more added time for the second goal. Like, I don't know, it was a shocking game, honestly.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was them missing their main players
Hmm.
because Postecoglou really didn't change his side throughout the season because he had those 11 that worked for him, and now was like the first time that he really had to change it up, and maybe he wasn't like too comfortable with that because
He
what
didn't have those
yeah,
replacements. Sorry.
because they're not good enough. His
Hmm.
replacements aren't. He has like those 11 that he sticks with for a reason, and they'll probably have to bring in some good replacements because it's not gonna last the entire season.
Yeah, hopefully next transfer that they have
Mm-hmm.
next year, next season, he will bring in some more players that he can, use that he can replace for the play. If players get injured, well, as we see, some players got injured or they can't play or they're absent, and he doesn't really have those good replacements. He needs some more replacements to keep his, uh, team afloat, I guess.
Yeah, and I said that Spurs would bounce back after this result, and another team that bounced back this weekend was Liverpool. They bounced back after their midweek loss against Toulouse in the Europa League, and they beat Brentford 2-0 in this game. Darwin Nunez would have 2 goals disallowed by VAR for offside. Salah would net 2, continuing his fine form this season, and Diogo Jota would seal the Reds the win, making it 3-0. They really bounced back from that Europa League result, and that is what's most important.
Yeah, honestly, there's not much else to say about this game. I mean, I expected Liverpool to win,
Mm-hmm.
and Brentford did try to pick up a fight, but like they couldn't. They didn't have the players to take on Liverpool, honestly. Liverpool just it was an expected win, 3-0.
Yeah, they tied against Luton last weekend, and we said that it's not gonna. It was just kind of a freak result. It was a bad game, and I think they showed that it didn't really mean anything.
Hmm.
And they needed this result, I would say. Liverpool, the Liverpool just played. I think they played very well in this game. They had the edge in all of like the statistics and shots and possession. Diogo Jota, I would probably say, was my man of the match. I know in the Premier League, Salah was voted man of the match, but I would say Diogo Jota. I thought he was really crucial in this game, especially that last goal. Salah has been one of the best players this season. I so happy that he's back to like his top self. Like Salah is one of
Hmm.
the best players in the Premier League of all time, I would say. They put Warta oh my gosh. Wartaro Endo in midfield in this game, and I would say he is struggling a bit adapting to the team, but I think you just need to give him some time to become that defensive midfielder they need. Like, I don't think he's absolute trash. I just think you can kind of see he's not fitting in as well. Kostas Timikas played again, and I thought he looked a whole lot better than at Toulouse uh, when Thursday.
Hmm.
Um, and Liverpool have City next, and that's really going to show where they stand in the title race because the game, like this City game, couldn't have come at a worse time for Liverpool because of all their injuries that they have so far.
I agree. I agree. And honestly, I just want to say again how you said that Liverpool they're definitely gonna you said a little while back that they're going to be in the top 4, and honestly now I
Mm-hmm.
can agree with you seeing how they're performing against the
Yes.
other teams, because at first I was like, no, I think that they'll be like mid-table, and I was kind of stuck on that. But I think maybe if they're not top 4, there's going to be a lot of competition for top 4 this year, you can
Oh
tell.
yeah.
But I think that they'll definitely be at least in like the top 6.
Yeah, Liverpool is second right now on the table. This is
Mhm.
like my dream. City's first, Liverpool second, Arsenal third, Spurs fourth, and I feel like that is like the top 4 challenge right there.
Yeah, and I also think that maybe if honestly if Chelsea keeps up the form, which we'll talk more about them later, but if they keep up the form, maybe they have potential to being in like the top 6. I'm not sure top 4, but I'm pretty sure if they keep it up, they could maybe become small challenge.
After a very chaotic Newcastle loss, Arsenal was another team that bounced back this weekend, winning against Burnley 3-1. Leonardo Trossard would score the first goal in added time in the first half. Then William Saliba and Alexander Zinchenko scored an incredible goal, giving Arsenal the lead, and Josh Brownhill would get the only goal of the game for Burnley. This was very expected and very easy, Kayla.
Yeah, I agree. We also saw that Fabio Vieira,
Vieira, Vieira,
Vieira,
Vieira. Good
Vieira,
job.
he got a red card, which did limit Arsenal to 10 players, but it clearly did not change the scoreline that much. No one scored. Nothing else much really happened. I expected Arsenal to win against Burnley because Burnley
Mm-hmm.
is not standing the best. They aren't awful, but they're not standing the best on the table compared to Arsenal, who is in third now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was an expected win for me. I don't know, just not much else to say about them.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be honest. Uh, we our first episode was Premier League predictions, and I said Burnley were gonna be kind of like a surprise of the season because they did really good in the championship. So I thought they were gonna be like really like surprising in the Premier League, but I guess not. They sit like at the bottom of the table. I'm not even sure. Yeah, they're in 20th.
Hmm.
um Burnley gives goals away really easily, especially from set pieces, and we saw that for two of the Arsenal goals, like Zinchenko's goal. I That was probably one of my favorite goals I've seen this like season. It was like Karate Kid like.
It
Like
was,
I it was beautiful.
mhm.
I loved it. And Leonardo Trossard, he's probably one of my favorite Arsenal players this season. I think he's very underrated. And the first goal, he literally slammed into the post, and that was very brave of him to
It
do.
was.
Uh,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I just want to say, I know I always mention him, but Bukayo Saka was doing very well this game too. We saw him get an assist to Leonardo Trossard's goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he he's just amazing as normal. It's all I gotta say. He definitely sticks out to me whenever I see Arsenal games because I feel like he always knows what to do when he's on the field.
Yeah, he's like their star boy, kind of like their best player.
Hmm.
And you mentioned Fabio Vieira's red card. Very dumb challenge. Like I don't even know why he even like tried. It was so late and it was high, so it was obviously a red card. And Arteta even said after the game that it was a correct decision to give a red card. And
Yeah.
Arteta was so mad about it after like you saw his reaction when he got the red. Like it was just so dumb. Like why do you even
Because he didn't need to challenge it like that. They were already up by three. It was pretty much
yeah,
useless. Like,
he
oh
just
well.
yeah, now he's going to be out for the next few games. And I think Arsenal, as I don't want to admit it, but I think they'll definitely be challenging for the title because of their squad and because of their form. Like I think they have one of the best squads in the Premier League this season. Like they're so young, but they know what they're doing.
Yeah, like I said, with Bukayo Saka again, he's a perfect example of that. He's so
Mhm.
young, but he knows what he's doing. Like I feel like Arsenal and Manchester City have like the best squad so far.
Yeah.
Like because they
Um
have backups, they have players.
yeah, a team that does not know what they are doing was is Man United.
Oh my gosh, Manchester United took on Luton Town at home and just barely scraped a win of 1-0. First half had very little action. United held most possession. Then in the 59th minute, finally Victor Lindelof scored the only goal of the match. This game was just disappointing as a whole. I mean, as a United fan, I expected so much more. Even looking at the stats, I see that both United and Luton had 4 shots on target. They both had 4 shots on target. We've said this before, and I'll say it again. United needs to work on following their shots and not solely relying on luck. Like, sure, they got the 3 points they needed this game, but it's so annoying seeing a club like Manchester United perform like this against Luton Town.
Yeah, they got the win, but it's not convincing once again. Like, you can't think that they're going to pick up form from this. And Eric Ten Hag, I sent you this earlier
Yep.
today. He said something about like we're finding our form. we're getting back to it. Like, no, you're not.
No,
No
you're
one
not.
is convinced.
It's like you lost against Copenhagen. You just scraped this win against Luton. Like
Luton.
I don't know what he means by they're getting better because they're not. They're literally getting really lucky winning these games.
Yeah, I think last episode, I think I mentioned that we have to start looking at Chelsea as a mid-table team, and I think we have to start doing that with United too.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
the no 1-0 against Luton.
It's just
No.
embarrassing. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah, like United obviously dominated most of the game as they
Hmm.
should. That's a plus, but it's getting really concerning. Like it takes you almost an hour to score. They're
And
not
that's all they
clinical in
have.
front of
Like,
the goal. Yeah. Like this game should have been easy for them. This should have been like 3 points in the bag, but they looked really vulnerable. Like wherever they go, it could be at Old Trafford or away. Like it's so crazy how bad they are.
here's the thing, like United knows how to keep their possession, how to keep the ball at their feet. But the moment that they lose it, they lose everything. The other team just
Mm-hmm.
runs up and scores. The thing about Luton, thankfully, is that they aren't amazing. Well, they're good because they're in the Premier League, but they aren't amazing at like doing that. They're one of the lower level teams, which has worked in the favor for Manchester. But you shouldn't be having to rely on that for a win for those 3 points.
Yeah, like nothing stood out from this game at all. And we say this for like all their wins. We'll talk about their Copenhagen game a little bit later, but his Eric Ten Hag's team selections are horrible.
It's like he
Like,
picks them from a hat.
yeah, for real. Just like, okay, so Rafael Varane, I think I mentioned this before. He should be probably your number one pick in defense at center back because of his stature, of his like he won the World Cup, he won Champions League multiple times, and but you make him like your fourth choice center back because he decides to start Maguire and Johnny Evans, and then
Which is sorry, but which is
no
absolutely baffling to me that he starts Maguire over him because Varane clearly
Varane.
Varane clearly is much better than Maguire, who constantly gets yellow cards, own goals, stuff like that.
No, but it's even like Johnny Evans. He came to United in the summer to train, and they signed him on like a year deal. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. And then when Johnny Evans gets injured, he brings in Victor Lindelof. No, you should put Rafael Varane in there. I like want to
Hmm.
know what's going on. Like, why don't you choose him?
I know he did get injured last season, I believe, but
But he's on,
I think he's
on the
okay
bench
now.
now.
So
Yeah, he's fine.
I don't
Unless he
know. Maybe he has something against him.
Yeah, unless there's something we don't know, then it's like they're so boring to watch and there's nothing to take away from this game except 3 points.
Exactly. It was like obvious that United was going to win, but just by 1-0 and you saw the possession. Clearly United kept the ball at their feet most of the time, but it was honestly a disappointing game.
Yeah, a game that was not so disappointing though was when Chelsea took on City at Stamford Bridge and Chelsea gave City a run for their money. What a game this would turn out to be as Haaland opened the scoring off a penalty after Cucurella took him down inside the box. Thiago Silva equalized 4 minutes later with a header off a corner. It would look like Chelsea would take the lead into the break, but Raheem Sterling tapped with the Raheem Sterling tap in, but then Manuel Akanji made it level at the break. Haaland would then get another goal, taking City back in the lead. Nicholas Jackson would then equalize. Then Rodri put City in the lead. And just as it looked like City would get 3 points, former Manchester City player Cole Palmer would get the equalizer for Chelsea, sharing the points. Oh my gosh. What a
What
game.
It was honestly very unexpected. Like I know Chelsea won against Spurs, but 4-4 tying against the number one team now is absolutely crazy to me. I mean, last thing I was expecting was a 4-4 score, never mind a
Yeah.
tie. Like it was just crazy. I mean, both teams got a penalty, which I think is pretty fair because usually when there's a
Hmm.
penalty, I'm like, okay, well, both teams don't deserve it. I mean, it doesn't deserve. I don't like
Yeah.
penalties because it's basically a free goal. But
Yeah.
you know, Chelsea really put up a fight more than I thought. I feel like City went into the game expecting a little bit more of an easier game. Not
Mm-hmm.
completely easy seeing as Chelsea won against Spurs, but easier. And clearly it wasn't like that. I mean, halftime was 2-2 also, which was also pretty concerning for me because I was rooting for City. But,
Yeah.
I mean, a tie's a tie. It's better than loss.
I think the thing that I'm very shocked about is how close the game was. The possession was City had 54% possession. Chelsea had 45. The shots on target was 9 to 10 in City's favor. The total shots overall was 17 to 15 in Chelsea's favor. Like it was. I'm just so surprised how high scoring this game was because oh my gosh, I'm getting confused with the names. Chelsea can't score goals, and we've seen that through the season. But I feel like okay, if you tie against City 4-4, I think we're climbing our way back, Kayla.
I mean, I don't want to admit it because last time I said that they weren't and they didn't. So, I think it's just luck again. I feel like by the end of the season,
How
Chelsea will
is it
rest in
luck?
I don't know, but I feel like at the end of the season, Chelsea will rest in like seventh or eighth place. But because right now they're in 10th, it's a pretty good spot for them considering how the season has been going. But
That's yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
But
Playing against number one team, pretty impressive. You could tie them 4-4.
yeah, but when you look at City's team and you look at Chelsea's team, City's team is a million times better.
Yeah, they have like world class players, and Chelsea's just they have amazing players too. It's just when you look at them, you would expect City to win by like 4-1, not four to
Yeah,
four.
that's actually what I thought the game would be because I was like, Chelsea can't score. I mean, they scored. It was 4-1, right? 4-1. Oh my gosh, I can't think back. It was 4-1 in the Spurs game, but it was against nine men Spurs. So that wasn't really anything to me. I mean, I was obviously happy, but nine
It
men.
was
But
yeah, 9 on 11 is pretty
when
much guaranteed for the other team to
when
win.
you're playing against probably the best team in the world with the best players in the world and you tie them 4-4, I would actually say that's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it's like you take a look at, you know, there's Erling Haaland, Jeremy Doku has been amazing. We've said that. Rodri, probably my favorite players. Bernardo Silva, Julian Alvarez, Ruben Diaz, Kyle Walker. Like even Ederson is so much better than Sanchez, and I think we might be getting better. I think Pochettino's starting to implement his style of play, and we might obviously we're not going to be challenging for the title this season, but maybe like sixth, fifth. I that's where I want to send at least.
I mean, that would be great for you, but for me personally, I'd like to see Chelsea in relegation, but that's not gonna
Okay, okay,
happen.
but that's not gonna happen if they tied against
So,
City.
yeah, so I assume that they're probably going to be like sixth or seventh by the end of the season, maybe eighth. I don't know.
Yeah, and we said that City's probably the favorites for the Premier League. Um another competition that they look favorites for is retaining their Champions League title. They dominated Young Boys this week, 3-0. A foul on Nunez would award City a penalty, and of course, Haaland made it 1-0. Foden would get a goal, doubling City's lead before halftime. 6 minutes into the second half, Haaland would make a very rare outside of the box goal, securing City's place in the knockout stages. They had a really easy group because they won the Premier League. I mean, oh my gosh, Champions League last year, so they get like the easy group. It's kind of like their reward, but very expected. You know what I mean, Kayla?
I agree with you. It was an expected win. I mean, although Holland didn't get the penalty, like you said, I mean, either way, City would have won against Young Boys. Young Boys, I feel like most people could beat them. They're just kind of there.
They're not really a threat to City. Like City
No.
dominated the game, over 60% possession. They didn't let Young Boys have a single shot at all, which is very crazy, and it just shows how good City are.
Yeah, City has that amazing defensive lineup that we've mentioned before. Um, They have that midfield that they can pass through with the ball. They just have
Mm-hmm.
great players, great formation, everything, and um, they just always know what they're doing. Like you said, they
Yeah,
were like young boys had zero shots. They had some attacks, but they had no shots, which literally proves how well City can play.
yeah, and they got to make a lot of changes in the game, which is good to rest some players, especially because of the Chelsea City game they had coming up. And I think City will get to the final again, to be honest with you, and I literally think they could win it again. Like,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
yeah,
there's not a team that looks like they're going to pose a threat to them, really.
I agree. I mean, there might be if they play Chelsea in in a final. I don't think Chelsea will make it to the final, honestly. But if they do, there are teams that like it'll be more difficult for them. But it's just I think that I see them at least getting to the final.
Chelsea aren't in the Champions League.
I
I wish they were.
don't know why I was mixing Champions League with Premier League.
I feel you. Yeah, I just you unless Jude Bellingham can stop City from,
hmm
I think it's gonna be Cities again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly, I agree. Yeah, like you said, unless Jude Bellingham pulls through, which that would be a very good, honestly, that would be a very good final.
Very good.
But, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, a team that I think are gonna get knocked out of the Champions League very soon is Manchester United.
Yep. So on Wednesday in the Champions League, Copenhagen took on Manchester United and barely won 4-3. First half ended in a 2-2 tie and Rashford receiving a red card in the 42nd minute, limiting United to 10 players. Second half rolled around and United's captain Bruno Fernandes took a penalty, putting them in a 3-2 lead until the 83rd minute and 87th minute when Copenhagen scored their winning goals. United did come out strong and they were pushing, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter because Copenhagen did win this. And some people are blaming the one goal loss on the fact that United had to play with only 10 players, but 10 on 11 isn't much of a difference. Plus, Rashford hasn't been making much of an impact this season, so him being out shouldn't have impacted them as much as people are saying.
Yeah, I think they started off the game really well. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. It looked like it could have been like 4-0
It looked
very
very
early in the
promising.
game. Yeah, they controlled it. But then, of course, like Man United have been doing this season, when Rashford was sent off, everything fell apart.
hmm
I know Rashford didn't mean to get the red. Like, it looked very unlucky. Like, I obviously he didn't mean to step on the guy's ankle, but like, rules are rules. And I like, he did endanger his opponent, and that's that. Like, that's a red, period. Like, freeze frame, when they look at VAR, it slows it down. It makes it look 100 times worse, but it was a bad challenge. He stood on the guy's ankle and he could have literally
hmm
broke it.
Yeah, I agree.
And Copenhagen isn't even that good of a team. They lost, like, they're not as big as a team as like Bayern when they played them, you know what I mean? So it shouldn't have been that hard. Like, Man United lost to Galatasaray 3, was it, they lost to Galatasaray, they lost to Bayern. It could have been way more at Bayern. And I just think they haven't been good in this whole UCL run, and I don't think they're going to make it out of the groups at all.
Honestly, I'll agree with you with that. If they do, by any chance, make it out of the groups, they're not
Surprising.
making it far. They're not making it far.
Mm-mm.
If anything, one game, but that's it.
Yeah, for
Like
real.
one goal loss. I mean, it was 4-3. You saw them win against Copenhagen before,
Mm-hmm.
but it just clearly didn't come back. Their luck didn't pull through for this game.
No, it's not surprising that like they're not gonna make it out, or that they even lost this game, because they just concede goals for fun. Like, they lost the lead twice.
I don't think that they concede goals for fun, but I think that they're very flawless. Not flawless, wrong word.
Flawed.
Wrong word.
They're
They're very
flawed. They're
yeah, they're
flawed.
very flawed. That's what I was going for. Flawed in the way, and I mean in the sense that they don't really care when they're on the field. Like I feel like a lot of the players, I've mentioned this before, don't realize that they're playing for the club of Manchester
Mhm.
United. Like we've seen Hoyland,
Yes.
he knows he's playing for
Yeah.
Manchester United. He appreciates it. It's just certain players, they're just kind of there, and I feel like they just don't realize the fact that it's a big club. They need to respect it, and they're not living up to any expectations anymore. Like
No.
the fact that they got into the Champions League this year, yes, but they're not even playing like they're supposed to, you know?
Yeah, I don't think they're good enough. And I'm gonna mention this again. Like I said for the Luton game, Ten Hag's team selection is horrible. He doesn't know
Mhm.
what his backline is, and a bunch. This is something I noticed, which is quite weird. A bunch of his new signings, the players that he signed when he came to Manchester United, are on the bench. Anthony, I hate Anthony with all my heart. He has done
I
nothing,
don't
absolutely nothing. Mason Mount,
I don't like him.
The guy
Oh
who
my
they,
gosh, I forgot. I forgot about Mason Mount.
yeah, he literally came on for Ericsson because he got injured in the Luton game, and he almost got an assist, but whatever. Emrabat, I actually was very happy when Emrabat came to United. I literally thought this was going to be good for them. It was going to be like extra protection, but no. Emrabat is horrible, and I don't think that he's horrible as a player. I think it's the team around that makes him look like this.
Mhm. I agree. I feel like he's just not in the right environment where he can flourish.
So me and Kayla's favorite group in the Champions League is obviously Group F. Like you have so many good teams in there: Milan, PSG, Dortmund, Newcastle. It's also nicknamed the Group of Death, and Dortmund, after beating Newcastle at St. James's Park in the previous tie, they beat Newcastle once again, but this time 2-0. Niklas Füllkrug would open the scoring, getting his first UCL goal for Dortmund, and Julian Brandt would score the second goal, putting Dortmund top of Group F. And it's funny how like Dortmund is really inconsistent in the Bundesliga, but like they're incredible in the Champions League, and especially with a really good Newcastle side in that game, like they won it quite easily. They were the better side all through the game, and they really needed that result because of how tight Group F is. And Newcastle never looked like they could have even won.
Hmm. I'll agree. I mean, we saw Newcastle win this game before, I think, and I said that maybe they were getting their form back from last season, but they didn't show that again. I'm happy to see that Dortmund won, though. I was kind of rooting for them, and like you said, it just kind of you just kind of knew that Dortmund was going to win this game.
I will correct you though. Newcastle didn't beat Dortmund in the Champions League.
Was it Newcastle PSG that
Yes,
won? Yes.
that
Okay.
one was
Okay.
a
Wrong
yeah.
game. Wrong game. Okay.
Yeah, you got it though. I think
Close enough. Close
yeah,
enough. Same
this
group. Same group.
yeah. The setup of the team I think was really wrong. Like how Eddie Howe put it out. Like I just didn't like it. Newcastle looked like they didn't know what to expect from Dortmund. Like they didn't play them 2 weeks ago. Like you should know, kind of. Like Dortmund is very slow at the back, and they aren't really an amazing side themselves. Like uh, Newcastle just played really scared, and they played too defensive. And I think they could have beat Dortmund in this game because of their offensive talent. Because Dortmund is really bad in defense, and I think Newcastle gave Dortmund a lot of space, and that gave Dortmund opportunities to attack and counter. And I think Newcastle should have really took stuff away from the first game. I think the atmosphere might have got to them. The Dortmund stadium is very intimidating, and I think it's probably one of the most intimidating stadiums in all of Europe. And it's probably one of
Hmm.
my favorite stadiums as well. And I think Newcastle really they have struggled a bit with the UCL away games, and I think it shows the gap between these big European teams and Newcastle.
Hmm. Like you said, the Newcastle gave them a lot of space to go up and score,
Mhm.
and also with the atmosphere, both teams have incredible atmospheres at their
Mhm.
stadium. So going to the other team stadium definitely gives them a different feeling of
Yeah.
like it's the same. It's I want to say same atmosphere, but for the other team. So it's kind of like, oh, they're not cheering for me, so it's more pressure, you know?
Yeah, and the other game in Group F was Milan PSG.
Hmm. So it was a very anticipated game, PSG versus Milan, with Milan winning 2-1. PSG opened the scoring in the ninth minute, giving them the leverage, but soon in the 12th minute, Milan tied it up. Halftime came, and soon after, Milan scored again their second goal in the 50th minute, giving them the 2-1 win. Overall, I don't really know what I expected. I knew that it was going to be a 50-50 kind of game, but looking at the possession, you saw PSG definitely had the ball more. I just feel like they couldn't finish their shots. They were attacking more. They had more attempts were 16-16 both teams. But, both teams you didn't really know what was going to happen with this game, honestly.
No, because 2 weeks ago we saw PSG like thrash Milan 3-0. So
Mhm.
I think it was kind of like you didn't know what to expect. And but I will say I think Milan deserved the win, and they turned up and they were way better than last time, and that's they really needed it because they were a different
Mhm.
side.
I'll agree with you on that. Like you said, PSG completely destroyed them last time, and now they've lost. And even though PSG was playing a little bit better, they just couldn't get the win. And after you saw PSG constantly pushing when it was two to
Hmm.
one, they just couldn't get it.
I think Milan really put up a fight, and they kind of shunned PSG. Like I feel like we
Hmm.
didn't even see PSG in the game. I feel like it was all Milan. It was so entertaining though. It was probably my favorite game this week, and Milan were very good. But the thing is, they have to be consistent. I feel like they're one of the most inconsistent teams in Europe, especially in the Champions League.
Yes, I agree with you. Like you said, consistency is key in the Champions League, especially. So seeing Milan, like, I mean, they won this game, but who knows how they'll do next game, you know?
Yeah, and I think speaking of PSG, I think they really vanished, and their front line was very invisible. Like Mbappe didn't
Hmm.
do anything. Dembele, ever since he came in, he hasn't done anything. He looks the same from Barcelona, and I literally thought I think I've said this. I thought they would have a really good forward line because they brought Kulu in. I thought it was just like a crazy front line. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good, but PSG just look half-hearted in everything they do. They have no spirit in them. They're not even a team, and there's no structure. They're so egotistic, and I thought Luis Enrique might have changed that. And I'm just gonna blame Mbappe for this egotistic
Hmm.
side. Like it's
I
horrible.
Yeah, I just feel like ever since they got Mbappe, they don't really have that push to win, and they're just
No,
kind of like, oh, well, we're just amazing because we have him, so they're just kind of there to play. They're not really pushing for the title or anything.
no. I think they're obviously pushing for uh the title in France, but I don't think they're who
Yeah.
okay, I have a question. Who do you think is gonna get out of group F? Milan, PSG, Dortmund, or Newcastle? Or two teams. You have to
Okay.
pick two teams. Sorry.
Okay. I think, oh, it's kind of difficult because all these teams, like, it's
It's
pretty.
hard.
I feel like Newcastle because I don't know. I know that they won against PSG, but they did also lose two games against Dortmund, so I'm gonna go with Newcastle and PSG because I don't know. I know that they won a few games, but they also lost a few. I don't know. This is very. I don't know. What do you
Wow.
think?
Wow. I'm
I
gonna
think
say I don't think Newcastle are gonna get out of the group at all.
really.
I think it's no, I don't. I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be PSG. I just even
Hmm.
though I hate them, I think they're gonna get out. And I think I'm gonna have to go with Milan just because I feel like there may be a little less. Even though Dortmund have been really good in the not Premier League, what the heck, in the Bundes. What am I talking about? Even though Dortmund have been really good in the Champions League, I just have like this feeling that Milan are just a better side, and I feel like they'll kind of edge out. It's a tight group, so you really don't know what's going to happen. But I don't think Newcastle have a chance. If I'm being honest with you.
I mean, okay. I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying which two I think are going to be like out, like not play and go on. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So the things I think that are going to go on are Milan and Dortmund. So I'll
Mm.
agree with you on the Milan one.
Okay. Okay. Well, then speaking of Milan, you and me a couple of years ago, we were very big fans of Ruben Loftus-Cheek,
Oh yeah.
and he left Chelsea in the summer and he rebuilt himself so
Hmm.
much. I think he had the best game for Milan in this PSG game. He was the guy in the game. I'm so happy he rebuilt himself. He got man of the match. I'm just all the real Chelsea fans knew that there was a good player inside him. It's just there was too many people at Chelsea, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they
And
had too many like good
yeah,
players per se, and he couldn't
the
reach his full
yeah,
potential there.
the real ones knew. I'm so happy for him, you know.
I know.
And then Oliver Giroud continues to help Milan even at his age. He's not like old, but you know, he's older and he's always there for them. Like he can get the goal that they need if it's just like, you know, if they're tied, he can break the deadlock. He still scores amazing goals. And Rafael Leao, he also scored in this game. He got back to his best. And he really needed that goal for himself. Like, he hasn't been really scoring lately. And I think he's an amazing player, and he just needed that. And not gonna lie, I really do like Milan as a side. Like, I didn't realize
Hmm.
how much, like, I liked them until this game.
I feel like I'm always just secretly rooting for them during games, unless they're playing against a
Yeah.
team that I like. I like more, like for example, United or something. I'll be rooting for United, but you know, they're not in the same group, so.
Yeah. So next week we have another international break. And Gareth Southgate decided to, you know, he's been having some questionable England choices.
Hmm.
And Kayla, what do you think of the
I
side that he
mean,
called up?
honestly, like, I agree with some of the players. Like, okay, I'll agree with the goalkeepers. That's as normal as it always will be. But Mason Mount, I don't really know why he's there. I mean, he does great for England normally, but like
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't been playing and I don't know why like Sterling or Palmer aren't there. I feel like they belong there. But I don't really have much else to say. I mean, Jude Bellingham's there, even though he's injured now, but he will probably be able to play. Maguire does not deserve to be there, nor does Phillips. He definitely has favorites.
Oh yeah.
Southgate definitely has favorites.
I think, you know, we've mentioned. I think oh, he has favorites. We made that very
Hmm.
clear. Uh, and I think actually a few of these players are going to withdraw from the team because they have injuries. Like
Hmm.
Callum Wilson, he has an injury. Um, James Madison has an injury. Jude Bellingham also has an injury, and I just, you know, I don't like that he doesn't branch out.
I mean, I am happy to see Bukayo Saka and Ollie Watkins, but I hope he actually plays them, Doesn't just have them
Yeah,
sitting.
he usually plays Bukayo Saka, but I feel
Hmm.
like Harry Kane's kind of like that main guy. He's their number 9, so Ollie Watkins is probably not going to play that much unless it's like a bad game. But something we've mentioned this a lot. Why do you call up Calvin Phillips? Why do you
Yeah.
call up Jordan Henderson anymore? Like, it's so bad.
Neither of them play, and if they do, they barely perform as they should be. It's just not, doesn't make any sense.
And Harry Maguire, okay, I can actually maybe vouch for Harry Maguire here. He's actually playing now. So
That's
there
true.
that he, you know, Eric Ten Hag kind of likes him. So I guess we can't really say anything about that. But you said Sterling and Cole Palmer.
Yeah, they put
Yes.
Rashford in over Sterling. It doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense to
yeah.
me.
I think like I feel like Cole Palmer. I've been loving him at Chelsea, and I feel like, especially in like a really short international break, I don't think some I don't. Jack Grealish is not even playing. Jeremy Doku takes him out of the side. Like you could literally put Cole Palmer in there. I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal. I mean, it probably is, but like you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's just like some of these players, you can tell he had some thought behind putting them in the squad, but other ones, you just know they were his favorites, so he just kind of put them there. Or he's like, oh, they played good last year during the Euros or something, and now they're here.
Yeah, so England have some Euro qualifiers next this coming week, and we will probably cover them in our next
Hmm.
episode, and that's what we have for you guys today.
Yes, so thank you everyone for listening. Please follow our Instagram and YouTube at Very Factual Podcast.